We left at 8:48. Okay, on the very top, we just this. It's interesting. I mean, what the Chovos HaLevavos writes is similar to what the Rambam writes in Hilchos Deos. Rambam speaks about Avas Hashem. So the question is, if a person, Ava, love, is an emotion, so how could there be an obligation to love if it's an emotion? If you don't love, you don't love. If it's an action, or what you're permitted to, what you're not permitted to do, okay, whether you want to do or not, you must do. We could force ourselves to do or not to do. You know, you restrain. But love is a feeling. So the Rambam says that if a person looks at the majesty of Hashem, you look at the world and the genius of the world, and you see the unlimited power of God, this will negate the person. And when you feel negated, and you understand who God is and who you are not, it will evoke the greatest level of Ava. That's how one comes, because a person, when God created a human being, a person is drawn and attracted to something that he sees as being special. But you have to come upon that reality. But the moment you come upon that reality, and you see God's unlimited power and genius, that will evoke the greatest level of Ava. That's the Rambam. So he's saying something similar here. When you will understand the dimension of his ability, his great ability, and his awesome majesty. I was reading a story about Brisker Rav. Very often he would go to Switzerland after he was in Israel already. This is in the late 40s. Summers, or what he would go there for, whatever. And this person would always accompany him. He was a close student of his. Today he's a man. He lives in London. He's about 95, 96 years old. So he has memoirs recording. He recorded things when he was together with the Brisker Rav. So he was sitting in front of the Swiss Alps in the country, and he's looking at the mountains, and he says to the Brisker Rav, so he says to the Brisker Rav was a very interesting personality. Everything to him was black and white. His level of genius was, he was the favorite son of Reb Chaim. He was Reb Chaim Brisker's son, and he was the most special son of Reb Chaim. And he became the Rav of Brisk after Reb Chaim passed away. That's what he's called, the Brisker Rav in Europe. So the person who's with him, who's very close, he says, I feel negated by these mountains. That's what he says to the Brisker Rav, The majesty of the mountains, he feels negated. So the Brisker Rav says, what do you feel negated? You're a person, the mountain's a mountain. Why should you feel negated? He says, if you say you're in the presence of a great Talmud Chacham, that makes sense, you should feel negated, okay? But an inanimate object or entity, and you have greater value than that. Is it awesome? It's awesome. But to feel negated just because of the dimension of whatever it may be. Here we're talking about you're negated not because of the physical entity. It's the one who created that physical entity. That's what we're talking about over here. If you realize this could only come about by the one who brought it about, so what does it say about him? He has unlimited ability. His power and his ability is awesome. It's beyond, it's unfathomable. That's what evokes the greatest level of love or wanting to be associated with that entity, with that being. The person will kneel and bow out of reverence, out of fear, because of his otzmoso gduloso. And he does not feel at ease until God causes him to be tranquil from that fear. Then he will drink the cup of love in God. It's interesting. A person is so awestruck, it doesn't allow you to love. You have to somehow become more tranquil. You have to calm down within you. If you stand in someone's presence and you're consumed with fear, your emotion is actually, you're paralyzed. You're frozen in your place. He says, oh, God has to allow you to be at ease, at peace with him, for the next step, to transition to the next level. For this bodid bod liyachid levavolo. To be alone, liyachid levavo. So the heart should be exclusive only for him, ulava also. To be continued. We're talking reverence. We're talking about reverence. You know, there was once I once saw, and there was a National Geographic, and a photographer went within the perimeter of a volcano when it was about to erupt, and he has pictures. The man put his life in jeopardy. The gases that would come out were so poisonous. If he would have inhaled it and would have been just slightly close, he would have died. I'm not even talking about the intense heat. And the way he describes it, this is a volcano, and it hadn't even erupted yet. What's a volcano? If you believe that God created this, it's the level of what your value is. In that presence, you don't exist. In a second, you're incinerated. By the heat, by the poison gases, by the lava, by everything. You know, I always think about it. When you say Kel Adon on Shabbos, and you speak about the luminaries, the sun and the moon, the way they go and they do the will of God. So what are we to the sun? The sun, I mean, the sun would be slightly close to the earth would be destroyed. And here you have these luminaries. So what are we? You know, you think about it. When you say Kel Adon, and you say Shevach Nosim B'Kotzva Marom, all the hosts of heaven, they give praises to God. They praise. So what? We shouldn't give praise to God. We're nothing. You think about it. It really is very moving. But you know, you're into the you know, whatever the tune is.
The point of this growth story is that we have each individual has a greater value than the sun.
Of course, there's no question.
Each individual has a greater value than the sun.
Then everything, of course, there's not even the question. So what are you impressed with? With the one who created the sun, the one who created the SWIP cells. You know, there's famous, everybody used to speak, especially the Yekis used to say this. You know, they used to quote Hirsch, Rav Shimshon Hirsch, you know, that a Jew has an obligation to go see the SWIP. If you want to see God, you have to go see the SWIP cells to see God. To see God's hand in creation. Yeah. No, Grand Canyon, they didn't say.